Does anyone else find it really odd that despite the overwhelming similarities between the Egyptians and the Incas, that mainstream scientists, archaeologists, and the textbooks that are being taught in school completely omit any of this information? Take, for example, the step pyramids that are found both in Peru, ancient Egypt, and Cambodia. Does anyone else think that that's an accident or just a coincidence? Well, wait a second. The ancients were dumb. Of course it's a coincidence. Heck, if you give some kids some toy blocks, they're going to build random things up, and of course you're going to find similarities somewhere, right? But wait a second, what about the incredible similarities with the use of trapezoidal doors found both with the Incas and in the Egyptian cultures? Trapezoidal doors? Never mind that that's only found in those two cultures. It's obviously definitive evidence that they were so primitive that they were incapable of building anything with a straight line. But what about the incredible similarities of the use of gold funeral masks on their mummies? Or the fact that both these cultures would cross the arms of their mummies? Gold funeral masks? So what? In fact, if anything, that just proves that they didn't have the ability to dip them in rhodium and make white gold, obviously. And crossing the arms of the mummies? Oh, come on. The ancients were cold-blooded Neanderthals that probably just threw the bodies of the mummies into their sarcophagus and did away with them. And heck, I wouldn't be surprised if the arms of the mummies just simply crossed over after they were dumped in by accident. Come on. Wait a second, though. How do you explain the fact that Egyptian mummies have been found with traces of cocaine in them? I mean, after all, cocaine is exclusively native of South America. So how do you explain that Egyptian mummies would have cocaine in them despite the inability to cross the oceans? You're kidding, right? You don't need to go to South America to get cocaine. Heck, go to the south side of town and find yourself a corner, and in minutes you can land yourself some cocaine. God, you sound so naive. But wait a second, how do you explain the overwhelming similarities between the architecture and structure and the cutting of various stones found in both of these cultures? In fact, the evidence is overwhelming that the exact same type of technology and architecture was used by multiple civilizations across multiple continents around the world, and it's completely unexplainable. Oh, really? Let me tell you something. Is there like a stamped trademark in any of these stones that prove that it's from the same culture? No, there isn't. So technically, that's not proof of anything. Well, then how do you explain the incredible similarities of the depiction of the third eye, or the Eye of Horus, in both cultures? Or even the very similar architecture of various buildings, or the use of obelisks, or the elongated skulls, or even the swirl marks found in various pottery, or the massive swirl marks found in the earth that are hundreds of meters wide? I mean, you can even find evidence that they worshiped the sun and had very similar animals facing the exact same positions, and these are continents apart. When you take all these things into consideration, how can you call all of this just a coincidence? You know what? Let me ask you a question. Has any of this been verified and agreed upon by peer-reviewed science? No, it hasn't. They don't agree with it, so it can't be true. In fact, I don't want to hear any more about it. You know, leave me alone. I'm right, you're wrong. I hate change. In fact, you know what? I've heard enough. I'm going to go put my GMO-ridden frozen dinner in the microwave and eat up, because there's obviously nothing to see here. Alright, all jokes aside, I saved the best for last. DNA evidence. How do you explain the fact that 30% of all Native American DNA is Middle Eastern? That's right. In fact, this was verified about a year and a half ago, and scientists have no explanation for this. In fact, it completely debunks the known and currently accepted human migration patterns that have been discussed in textbooks for decades. But if you want to hear something even more crazy, they're finding that in various areas of South America, the DNA originates from, get this, Aborigines from Australia. And it dates back to 17,000 years ago. So how do you explain that? And I should mention that I'm citing a study done by Harvard. And they have absolutely no explanation for this. In fact, they're dumbfounded. They have no explanation. So the only logical explanation is that Plato was right, and that many other civilizations were right when they carved in stone and stated that there was once an advanced civilization that was capable of traveling between the continents, also known as Atlantis. I mean, when you consider that Aboriginal DNA is found in South America as far back as 17,000 years ago, and then when you consider that there was a global cataclysm that happened 13,000 years ago, It's obvious that there was a global reset button on ancient human civilization, and that we were once far more advanced than our textbooks currently teach in school, and that we were able to travel between the continents. I mean, DNA evidence and evidence found with cocaine in these mummies and all the overwhelming similarities makes it completely conclusive that these two cultures were obviously connected in more ways than we can possibly imagine today. Real quick, I need to mention that everything that I shared with you today, I couldn't have done without the works of humansarefree.com, the works of Richard Cassaro, who has his own YouTube channel, which you need to check out, as well as richardcassaro.com, and check out his book called The Missing Link, Written in Stone. I also utilize photos from grahamhancock.com, as well as an article by Bard Manson with ancientorigins.net. There's so much evidence that the history of human civilization is far older and was once far more advanced than we were ever taught in school or is currently being taught in school today. Anyways, guys, I'm Jimmy. This is Bright Insight. Like and subscribe. I have many other videos for you to enjoy on a whole wide variety of topics. Take care, everybody.